Hi, everyone. Thanks for joining us today for our Back to School Nutrition webinar. We're excited to share some really helpful practical nutrition advice and strategies that parents can use. To kick things off with a quick introductions, I'm Jessica Yao with Zipongo. For those of you who aren't familiar with Zipongo, we're a digital nutrition company whose goal is to make eating well simple. And all of you listening today have access to Zipongo tools through your employer. Joining me as our featured speaker is Elle Penner, a registered dietitian and busy mom who knows firsthand about the challenges parents face when trying to feed their kids healthy foods. As we go through the topics today, feel free to share questions via the chat feature, and we'll answer as many as we can during a Q&A section at the end. And with that, I'll hand things over to Elle.
Thanks, Jess. So we all know good nutrition is essential for children. Research shows that a nutritious and well-balanced diet keeps kids feeling energized, helps them reach their full growth potential, and perform better in school. Plus, those good eating habits established during childhood often carry into adulthood, which means what you do now can really help your kids stay healthy throughout their life. That being said, I also know firsthand that getting your kids to eat healthy and actually enjoy nutritious foods can be challenging. So today I'm going to go over some of the essentials of good nutrition specific to kids, as well as some strategies to help you build healthy eaters and take the stress out of mealtime. So it might be no surprise that your child needs the same nutritious foods and essential nutrients that you do, just in smaller quantities. So as a refresher, I want to go over 6 essential components of a healthy diet and how they can be applied to your kids. Number 1, offer plenty of vegetables and fruits. Vegetables and fruits, as you know, they're packed with nutrients like vitamins, minerals, and fiber, and may help reduce the risk of cardiovascular disease, diabetes, and even certain cancers that often appear in adulthood. In a little bit, I'll share some strategies to actually get your little ones to eat those healthy fruits and vegetables. You also want to focus on wholesome carbs. Refined carbohydrates spike blood sugar levels and should be served sparingly. Instead, try serving complex carbohydrates, which provide more sustainable energy. They're found in whole grains, fruits, and vegetables, and provide your kiddos with fiber and important B vitamins.
So Elle, what are some examples of refined carbs to avoid?
Great question. The most common refined carbs would include white pasta, white rice, white bread, sweets, and of course those sugary beverages, which definitely includes juice, and many of us kind of forget that.
Okay, cool, great, thank you.
We also want to focus on healthy fats, which are crucial for brain development and give kids the sustainable energy. Good sources of healthy unsaturated fats include avocados, salmon, nuts, olives, and olive oil. And as a best practice, it's also good to avoid processed meats and limit red meat. Research shows their consumption may increase the risk of certain cancers, as well as heart disease and obesity when consumed over long periods of time. Instead, try to serve mostly lean protein sources like beans, lentils, seafood, tofu, edamame, and poultry. So we all know that salty packaged foods and snacks tend to be popular among kids, but it's best to keep these as treats and offer as many unprocessed snacks without added sodium, like fruits, veggies, cheese, and whole grain crackers when possible. Also, try cutting back on salt at home, like try using 2/3 to half the amount of salt called for in recipes, and add flavor with things like herbs, spices, and lemon juice, all of which are sodium-free, and some of which deliver important antioxidants, plus help kids develop a taste for new foods.
Elle, can I ask, are there any particular healthy herbs and spices you recommend keeping on hand?
Sure. For quick meals, I often use salt-free spice blends, something you pick up at the grocery store like Mrs. Dash's, like a lemon pepper seasoning for fish or a Southwest seasoning blend for chicken fajitas. Of course, you can make your own spice blends if you have a full stock of spices at home. But I just find the pre-mixed ones super convenient and oftentimes cheaper than going out and buying several different spices. So lastly, staying hydrated is really important, but especially for kids since it impacts everything from brain function and energy to digestion. It probably goes without saying that water is the best beverage to serve when your child is thirsty. To keep your kiddo well hydrated, I recommend offering water between meals and snacks and alongside milk at meals.
So about juice and sports drinks like Gatorade, what about them?
Yeah, well, it's important to remember that both of these contain added sugar and calories, or just sugar and calories if it's 100% fruit juice. So it's best to serve these as a treat. For kids, the portion size is much smaller than adults. That's what's recommended. So try limiting that to 4 ounces, which is about a half cup per day. For older kids who are very active or participating in sports, particularly this time of year when the weather is still really hot, kids are going back to practice. Having 8 to 12 ounces of a sport drink during or after activities lasting more than 1 hour can be really helpful, both to keep them hydrated and replace some of those electrolytes lost in sweat.
Good to know.
So how much water your child needs will vary based on a lot of things: age, gender, activity level, the weather outside. But that said, I've included some general guidelines for kids ages 4 to 18. You can see that kids ages 4 to 8 need at least 5 cups of water per day, and then more as they get older, with boys needing a bit more than girls after the age of 9. Teens 14 and up should be drinking about as much water as is recommended for adults. So if you have kids and you know that children like what they know and they also eat what they like. That being said, here are my 5 top tips to getting your kids to eat and actually enjoy healthy foods. So first of all, when it comes to feeding your child, you need to know your roles. Your job is not to cater to their every demand or prepare separate meals if and when your child refuses to eat what you've made. Your role as a parent is to buy and prepare a variety of healthful foods to offer at meals and snacks. And make sure you have a relaxed, comfortable eating environment at home. And also be a good role model. Sounds simple, but it's more challenging than it sounds. Secondly, you want to let your child decide whether, what, and how much they eat. Don't nag or negotiate with them if they're not interested in a particular food. If they don't touch their broccoli, forcing them to eat it will only work against you. Trust me. Research shows an authoritarian parenting style at mealtime increases your child's preference for less desirable foods, so like broccoli or vegetables, and decreases their preferences for healthier foods.
Elle, what if this ends up meaning that your kids don't eat broccoli?
Well, the thing with this approach is that it's perfectly okay that some veggies get left behind. I'm giving you permission to let go a bit. The reality is that growing a healthy eater happens over time, not just at one meal. So I suggest you keep serving a variety of healthy foods, regardless of the outcome. And in time, your kids' tastes will come around. So that brings me to my next tip. Serve new or yucky foods alongside favorites. This allows you to gently offer new foods while letting your child remain in control of what they choose to eat. It doesn't matter their age. Some kids will need to be offered a new food 15 times before they'll even try it, and even more before they decide if they really like it or not. Another tip for trying new foods: instead of forcing your kids to eat, take a bite, and swallow a new food, just encourage them to explore it a bit. Encourage them to touch it, lick, smell, and taste it. I think we can all agree that new foods are a lot less scary if you aren't being forced to swallow something you may not like. Next, don't hype the healthfulness. This may seem a bit backwards, but research shows that when children hear about the benefits of a healthy food, they're less likely to eat it or end up eating less of it. So you're better off just simply serving dinner without saying anything about its healthfulness, and instead emphasize how good the food tastes. So don't reward or overly restrict highly desirable foods. Research shows that offering food rewards like dessert almost always makes the reward food more desirable and healthy foods less desirable. Furthermore, being overly restrictive increases your kids' preference for and intake of restricted foods once they get their hands on it. The everything in moderation approach is definitely best when it comes to these highly desirable foods.
Elle, do you have any suggestions for what to offer as rewards besides a scoop of ice cream?
Yeah, sure. For good non-food rewards, you could give your kids more time to play outside with friends, or you could try giving stickers that they can save up throughout the month and then trade in for a new toy. And there's always, the option of giving them a few extra minutes of screen time after dinner if they do well with their meal.
Cool, those are great. Well, now I think we're ready to move on to tips for breakfast, lunch, and dinner.
Yep, and first up is breakfast. Starting the day with a solid breakfast has been shown to have positive effects on academic performance, impacting everything from cognitive function to attention, comprehension, memory, and even school attendance. So with that, here are my 3 top breakfast nutrition tips as parents. First of all, we want to avoid those sugary cereals. Sugary cereals don't do much to fill the belly and can lead to mid-morning sugar crashes, leaving your child feeling sluggish and irritable, which can make it hard to concentrate. Leave those sugary cereals for a treat and offer lower sugar whole grain cereals instead. Look for cereals that provide at least 4 grams of fiber and no more than 7 grams of sugar per 3/4 cup serving. Secondly, we want to pair quality carbohydrates with protein. So if you want to give your energizing carbs found in whole grain cereal, toast, oatmeal, and granola more stay power, pair them with protein, like that found in eggs, milk, and yogurt. The combination makes the meal more satiating, so your kids' breakfast stay with them longer throughout the morning. And lastly, slip in some veggies. Eggs not only provide quality protein and fats, but they also make great vehicles for veggies. Dice up some of your kiddos' favorite veggies like bell pepper, steamed carrots, broccoli, cauliflower, or peas, and bake them into some easy egg muffins to get a serving of veggies in before the day begins. Of course, knowing breakfast is brain food doesn't necessarily make it any less challenging to feed kids a nutritious breakfast before the bell rings every morning. I recommend prepping 1 or 2 healthy breakfasts before the school week begins, so your kids don't end up eating a sugary bowl of cereal or grabbing a breakfast pastry on their way out the door. So next I want to share 3 great breakfast options you can add to your Zipongo meal plan every Sunday and eat throughout the week.
And just a note on the recipes, we're including the links in each slide, and we'll share the presentation later so you'll be able to click through to get the full recipes.
Yep. So first up is a recipe for slow cooker overnight oats. The great thing about this dish is that you can just set it and forget it. I recommend making slow cooker oats with milk that adds a boost of satiating protein and fats. You can easily store leftovers in Tupperware and reheat in the microwave with just a splash more milk or water. The next breakfast are these veggie egg muffins, which I mentioned before. It's easy to bake up a batch at the beginning of the week and refrigerate or freeze the leftovers for a quick breakfast. You can reheat them in the microwave in just a few seconds and pair them with a piece of whole grain toast for a balanced breakfast with veggies. Another great option is pancakes. I love pancakes because they're not only versatile, but they store well both in the fridge and freezer. It's also easy to make high protein options like these high protein pancakes. They're made from ground oats, which are a whole grain, and can be topped with peanut or almond butter, fresh fruit, chocolate chips, or my favorite, all three. So let's move on to lunch and snacks. Packing school lunches I know can be challenging for parents, so I have a few lunch nutrition tips for you. First is encourage good hydration. Fill up your child's favorite water bottle every morning and encourage them to finish it at least twice before the end of the school day. It seems simple, but staying hydrated is far more fun if they see it as a challenge. Secondly is include a couple of simple homemade snacks. Between their small bellies and high energy activities, kids need snacks to stay fueled throughout the day. Pick snacks that combine a combination of carbs, protein, and/or fats to make them the most satiating and nutritious. You probably know that packaged snacks tend to be higher in sugar, sodium, and saturated fats, and they also lack important nutrients. So fresh snacks like fruit, yogurt, trail mix, and string cheese can all be packed in just a few seconds and provide really good nutrition. I'll give you a few easy homemade snack ideas when we go over some recipes in just a few minutes. And third, aim to include at least 4 of the 5 food groups in your kid's lunchbox. Simply because the more food groups that make it into the box, the more balanced and nutritious the lunch. Here's a quick food group review with some lunchbox friendly food ideas. So for fruits, some great ones to include are chopped melon, pineapple, or mango, grapes, bananas, an apple, a pear, or orange slices. Kid-friendly vegetables that you can pack are baby carrots, grape tomatoes, broccoli or cucumber, even kale chips, which you can easily make at home or purchase at the store. Some good sources of protein are chicken breasts, which can be chopped up to make chicken salad, tuna salad, low sodium deli turkey, hard-boiled eggs, beans, and edamame. Some good sources of dairy are milk, which your child might be able to get at school in the cafeteria, cheese sticks, cottage cheese, and convenient yogurt pouches or yogurt tubes. One thing is just to keep an eye on the amount of sugar that they contain. And lastly, whole grains. So you want to serve like whole grain sandwich bread, whole wheat pita, or whole wheat tortillas, brown rice, and whole grain pasta with like a pasta salad. So here are 3 simple tips from fellow parents, including myself, to help you save time, minimize headaches, and maximize the nutrition of your child's lunch. First, you don't want to wait until you have to pack lunch to start thinking about it. To save time and get ahead, think about prepping things for school lunches while you're in the kitchen doing other things, like making dinner or cleaning up after a meal. For example, when I'm cooking dinner, I'll chop up extra veggies that can be paired with hummus or yogurt dip while making dinner. I'll also cook and slice up an extra chicken breast for wraps or chicken salad. And I also got in the habit of packing leftovers in smaller containers that can easily fit into a lunchbox. This saves you from having to transfer leftovers from a large container into a smaller one later on. My second tip is to be okay with monotony. Chances are your kids already are because that's just how they're programmed. Don't stress over packing different lunches each day. One of my mom friends finds it easiest to pack the same lunch for her kids the entire week and then tries to change it up the next. Another one of my girlfriends packs the same sliced strawberries and bell peppers every single day in her kids' lunchbox because that's what she knows her kids will eat. So if repetition spares you some headaches and keeps your kid happy and fed, my recommendation is just to go with it. I'm pretty sure no one's ever died from eating baby carrots or apple slices or a PB&J every day. And thirdly, involve your kids in the lunch packing process. Better yet, you can teach your older kids to pack their own lunch. Kids as young as 6 or 7 can start packing their own lunch. Of course, they will need a little help and some boundaries, but giving them this skill will save you time, spare your sanity, and teach them the components and process of building a nutritious, balanced meal. And as we all know, kids as little as 2 or 3 have their opinions too. They can't quite pack their lunch yet, but you can involve them by giving them options for what goes in their lunchbox each week. So just give them a few items to choose from, and they're more likely to eat them.
So, how much guidance would you give your kids about what to pack?
Well, what I'd suggest for older kids is once you've done your shopping for the week, give them a kind of an outline. Jot down on a piece of paper a few lunch appropriate options for each group. So what their protein could be, some fruit and veggie options, some whole grains, and a few dairy options, as well as a couple of healthy snack ideas. Then you give them that outline and let them choose 1 or 2 items from each category to pack in their lunchbox.
Great.
So moving on to recipes, if you're looking for some fresh lunch and snack ideas, here are a few that you can find on Zipongo. This is one of my favorites to pack. It's just a simple whole grain bagel topped with nut or seed butter and banana slices. It makes a great breakfast or snack as well, but it's ready in just 5 minutes. It's balanced and it fits really, really well in the lunchbox. Our little guy loves this whole wheat pasta loaded with veggies. To make a head, all you have to do is cover and refrigerate it without the dressing and just simply add the dressing to the lunch portion the morning of. And if you like to make lunch the night before, it's a great habit to get into. These pizza roll-ups are great because they can be covered and refrigerated for up to 1 day. And they're also made with a whole wheat tortilla. So here are a few great snack ideas that take just under 30 minutes or so to make. These 5-ingredient peanut butter energy bites are great. They pack protein, fiber, and healthy fats, and can be even made with alternative nut and seed butters if your child's school is peanut free. We really like these crispy roasted chickpeas. When roasted in the hot oven, protein and fiber packed chickpeas become super crunchy, and I think you'll find they're highly snackable, not just for your kids, but for you as well. And we also really love this zucchini bread with chocolate chips. It's a great way to slip in some veggies into snack time as well as whole grains. You can add raisins or nuts instead of chocolate chips if you want to add a bit more nutrition. So since becoming a mom, dinners have probably changed most dramatically of any meal at our house. If you're a parent, you probably know the frenzy that this time of day entails. You're scrambling to get something nutritious on the table after a busy day at work. You probably have a hungry or crinkly toddler clinging to your leg, and your older kids are nagging you for snacks. We could do a whole series just on dinner, but I have just a few tips for you to help you make the most out of this sometimes challenging meal. So my first tip is to follow a weekly dinner formula. This tip has probably helped me the most when it comes to meal planning. If you're like me and suffer from decision fatigue when it comes to food or meal planning, a simple dinner formula can help simplify how you think about this meal. So my weekly dinner formula looks something like this. I write down 1 vegetarian meal, 1 chicken or poultry, 1 fish, and 1 pork, beef, or lamb dish. I jot down this formula on a piece of scrap paper every Sunday and fill in 1 or 2 meals for each category, depending on how many meals we're going to be eating at home that week. I then input those meals into my weekly meal plan in Zipongo, print off my grocery list, and my meal planning is done. It's also worth mentioning that I strategically schedule fast or make ahead dishes and or leftovers for our busiest nights.
This is great. I love the formula. I'll also show everyone what the meal planner looks like in a few minutes.
Yeah, and you can really come up with any formula you want. You could do it by cuisine with Mexican Mondays, Italian Tuesdays. But what I like about my formula is that it ensures my family is getting a variety of quality proteins and not eating too much red meat. My second tip is to blend in veggies when you can. So if you have little ones, dinner that incorporates pureed vegetables can be your best friend at times. They're particularly great for those with only a few teeth and older kids who tend to avoid the raw or steamed or sauteed veggies and salads. And certain dishes just lend themselves to pureed vegetables, particularly pasta sauces. If you've not tried cauliflower sauce, you'll want to put it on everything, and casseroles. Two of my favorites are making butternut squash mac and cheese and that cauliflower sauce that I mentioned, putting that over pasta. If you Google them, I'm sure you'll find a couple dozen variations for each of those out there. Next, consider giving veggie noodles and fries a try. So kids love zucchini noodles and shoestring sweet potato fries because they're fun to eat and make, and parents love them because they're easy and nutritious. If you don't have one already, pick up an inexpensive handheld veggie spiralizer. My favorite is the OXO brand. It's about the size of a tennis ball, so it fits nicely in your drawers, doesn't take up any counter space. And you can make veggie noodles and fries with everything from zucchini, squash, carrots, sweet potato, and even broccoli stalks. The fourth tip is to serve more family-style meals. This goes back to the point that I made in the beginning. You prepare the meal and decide what goes on the table, but let your kids do the rest. Allowing your children to serve themselves gives them the choice of what and how much to eat, which makes them feel empowered and more in control. This in turn increases the amount and variety of foods they'll eat and the new foods they'll try. So number 5, involve the kids. This may not be an activity you want to do at 6 p.m. on a Tuesday, but when time allows and things are relaxed at home, make sure to get your kids involved in the dinner planning and preparation process. Kids who help out in the kitchen are more willing to eat what you make and try new foods because after all, they helped. I thought this table from the NIH had some great kid-friendly kitchen tasks. So 2-year-olds can tear lettuce or greens. 3-year-olds can shake liquids in the covered container to mix them. 4-year-olds can peel oranges or hard-boiled eggs. And 5 or 6-year-olds can measure ingredients and even begin chopping veggies with kid-safe cutlery. So I know we covered a lot today and that I only really scratched the surface, but I want to wrap up with just a quick summary of a few of today's takeaways. First, focus on variety. We saw this theme throughout the webinar. Aim to include as many food groups in your kids' meals and lunches and snacks as you can. This will offer a combination of protein, carbs, and healthy fats and make them more satiating and nutritious. Secondly is use a meal formula. This really helps ease decision fatigue and makes meal planning really a lot faster. Third, keep mealtime fun and stress-free. Just remember, kids are naturally neophobic, meaning they're afraid of new things. So you might have to offer food 20 times before they will eat it. Don't pressure your kids to swallow a bite of new foods, but encourage them to explore and describe them instead. Serve new foods along familiar ones so they don't feel forced to try something they're unsure of. And lastly, involve your kids when possible. Assign them age-appropriate tasks in the kitchen, have them pack their own school lunches, and get them involved in the meal planning process.
Awesome. Thanks, Elle. So you've touched on some of these already, but Zipongo has lots of tools that make it easy to find, shop for, and cook healthy meals. I rounded up just a few here that are great for parents. First, we have a nearly limitless supply of tasty, healthy recipes that can be filtered by your dietary preferences and restrictions. There are tons of options to choose from, including categories like kid-friendly, 30 minutes or less, one-pot meals, make-ahead dishes, freezer-friendly, and 7 or fewer ingredients. You mentioned this one, Elle. This drag and drop meal planner helps you plan for the week ahead. And you can also invite family members to Zipongo as your dependents, so you can share meals, plans, and grocery lists. Once you've made a meal plan or found a few recipes that look good, you can add them all to a single Zipongo grocery list. Then, that list can be shared with others or sent over to Instacart for quick deliveries. Zipongo also has apps for both iPhone and Android, which lets you access these tools on the go.